Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fragrant Bunker. Today, we're going to touch base on the top 5 perfumes for the month of February. Tis the year 2025, and this winter is very abstract and not the easiest winter for many people. Uh, the economical climate is what it is. The political climate is what it is. So, what are you going to do? We're just going to plow through it as best we can. For the occasion, I have prompted my AI bubbles to generate an abstraction of a February landscape, be it a wintry landscape in the northern hemisphere or a summery landscape in the southern hemisphere, with hints and nuances of autumn. I know technically it's winter, but in my heart, it's kind of autumny. There's that nostalgia. There's a weird energy in the air this year, I feel. So my fragrance selection veers into that direction. It's a little bit all over the place. Bear with me. Let's see if we kind of manage to find some form of thread, like a leitmotif to connect all of the dots together. But before we do that, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and you can push the notification bell to get notified every time I post a new video. You can also become a member. Push the join button. Become a member and gain access to extra perks. And you can also join me on Patreon, superdacob all spelled together there as well. For extra perks, everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged and just my opinion. Okay, let's first see quickly how gorgeous this background looks like. We also have eyeballs looking at us, and then trees. It's kind of like a foresty vibe, almost like electricity in the forest, like a lamp hanging up, and then you got these hammocks everywhere. Actually, you know what this is? These could be ghosts, spirits, forest spirits. I don't know. Sun. But then here we have the light of the sun, although the sun seems to be there in the background. We don't really know. It's an abstraction. The first perfume is also quite the abstraction. Let me blend it in for you. Magic. We have Hermes, the cologne series, Eau du Basilic Pourpre, the red or the purpur basilic. Now, the basil. So basil, as we know it, usually is green, but there is a red version of basil. It is very, very, very aromatic. I have done a full review of Eau de Basilic Pourpre, and actually, if I do find a shopping link for it for YouTube, I will be posting it as well. So be sure to check out those links. They do help the channel out a lot. You don't pay more than you would pay if you clicked on that link without being on my channel, but a percentage of the proceed of the sale helps out the channel. So that's kind of a cool thing that YouTube started doing. So thank you, YouTube. And go check out the links that I'll be posting in this video. Now, so I really, really enjoy this one, especially in winter. And in fact, when I first bought it and reviewed it, was 2 winters ago. And it was on the seaside, and it was kind of very windy and cold. It was January, actually, late January. So, it was almost February, but then I started using it more, and then I loved it in February. Matter of fact, here we are again in February, and I am loving it. It has a very interesting, warm, and cool effect. Now, it's not my favorite Hermes cologne. It's my second favorite, though. My favorite one would be Eau de Gentian Blanche, which did not make the cut now in February because that one I'm feeling more. I'm waiting for warmer months to wear that one, but that is my favorite one from the cologne series. But anyway, Eau de Basilic Pourpre. So it has a bergamot vibe, of course, very cologne-esque. It has that red or pourpre basil in the accord. And then there's a smidge of patchouli there. What else we got here? Geranium, all sorts of spices kind of blending together to create a sort of barbershop vibe. This one is unisex, by the way. Perfumes don't know gender in my book, but this one particularly really lends itself, whether you're leaning more masculine or feminine yourself, this one has such a beautiful spectrum like nuances, just like our forest here. Like there's all of these different nuances of green and warmer hues and cooler tones. And Eau de Basilic Pourpre starts off like almost camphorous in a way. There's that kind of menthol type of vibe going on in the top notes. It's the basil giving it not your typical edible type of basil that you could grow in your little garden and you could like kind of pluck it to, do pasta, sauces, ragouts. No, this one is more aromatic. It's more leaning towards fougere, but with that barbershop vibe of a fougere, but with a smidge of camphorous mentholated vibe to it, which is cold and warm at the same time. And it has a heat within. Like at its core, there's warmth and heat there, but then it emanates a coolness to it. Technically, if you were to use Tiger Balm, which is also a camphorous vibe, right? You use Tiger Balm on your skin to cool it down. What it does in reality, it stimulates blood circulation in that area where you apply it. So technically, you are heating your body up, but the effect of it is kind of the opposite. It gives you a cooling effect, almost as if that spot would be colder than usual, when in reality, it's actually building up a quicker blood circulation in that area, which means you are heating up. So there's that duality within this fragrance. It's a paradox of sorts. And this February 2025 is quite the paradox. So this one, more than just saying, oh, I'm going to wear this all day long, the way this one smells really matches my psychological and emotional state of mind and mood this year in February. So more so than just a very wearable fragrance, I often think of this one, even if I'm not wearing it, it passes through my mind. You know what they say, like, oh, guys usually think about the Roman Empire at least once a day. I don't know who came up with that theory, by the way, because I don't think about the Roman Empire every day. But anyway, people say, I would think about the Roman Empire every day. I kind of, in this period, even if I'm not wearing it every day, I think of it every day. Just like the emotions that Eau de Basilic Pourpre brings. I love this perfume so much. And I'm really, really glad that Hermes created this one and added it to their cologne collection. It is an eau de cologne. And available in different sizes, by the way. There's a tiny one, a medium-sized one, and then there's a really large one. The really large ones are kind of rarer to find. Not so sure if they're European exclusive. But anyway, Eau de Basilic Pourpre, delicious. It's not really um, bitter. It's not sweet. It's not gourmand. It's kind of an in-between. It's like a mentholated, warm, cool palate cleanser with character. It's a palate cleanser with character. It's like after you ate sushi, then you take a little bit of, ginger, and then to clean the palate, and then you take another sushi. That's this one. This one is a palate cleanser, but elevated, not just, oh, well, let's just use it as a palate cleanser. No, this one can stand on its own for sure. So that's my number one. My number two, up here magically, number two, Alien by Thierry Mugler. Now, Alien, in its current formulation, I'm not a fan of its first iterations, but I do have the current version of Alien. They have toned it down a little bit. The synthetics are less screechy, less opulent and bombastic as they used to be. I know for the fans of the first iteration of Alien, they were very let down by the new version. They say, oh, it's watered down, and I'm like, but I was actually waiting for for it to get a little bit toned down, because now it really suits me. It has a softness to it. I could not stand Alien for the longest time, you guys. I mean, for years and years and years, and I made even videos about it, laughing about it, saying like, no, 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 no. But the current version, to the old school fans of Alien, it might be really terrible. To me, it's really great. So I'm really happy that L'Oreal kind of, maybe they watered it down to save money. I don't know, for whatever reason, but it works better for me. And it's not that I'm like usually against very intense perfumes. No, I can pull off an intense perfume, an intense fragrance, and I love them. It just has to have the right constellation of ingredients. You know, sometimes Mugler perfumes have a tendency, to my nose, to be just too synthetically screechy. I do love Amen, and I have like a hoarded vintage bottles of it, right? So with like as old a formula as I can find because I love the intensity of it. But with Alien, it's like I like it a little bit more subdued. Um, and so this is a very particular type of jasmine. I've also reviewed Alien. Alien has its own video at the Eau de Parfum, so you can go check that out. And I'll also be posting a link to this fragrance, shopping link to it if I find it. Because Mugler, by the way, makes a gazillion different sizes of this one. You know, they have like the 10 milliliter, 15, 30, 50, 75, 90. I mean, you never know. Then they have special editions, even bigger, smaller. They're all refillable. So Mugler, before other fragrance houses even thought about sustainability, Mugler from the get-go did their little, these things you can kind of twist it off. You could take it to certain perfumeries where they have the so-called fountain, where they can refill a bottle for you, and then you kind of pay a little bit less than if you would be purchasing the full-blown bottle again. I'm not so sure how sustainable it all really is, but nevertheless, you know, when nobody was doing it, Mugler was already doing it while he was alive. May he rest in peace. Thierry Mugler was a genius. So, fashion-wise at least. And so we have a jasmine in here, and the jasmine in here is so otherworldly. I think that's the whole concept of this Alien, being a fragrance that comes from another planet. And in fact, in my review, I talk about the jasmine being transported to another planet, and it kind of like takes us on a journey when we wear it, and it takes us to its planet, where all of a sudden the intensity of the fragrance that was a little bit too omnipotent on planet Earth, when you actually fly back to the alien planet where this fragrance comes from, all of a sudden the jasmine works perfectly because it was conceived for their climate, their atmosphere, their pressure, their gravital forces, the forces of gravitation. So everything is different on that planet, right? And hence also the perception of smell is different. And I kind of envisioned in my review the concept of this perfume functioning much better on that other planet than on our planet. And now that they have kind of slightly watered it down, it almost gives me more the impression of how the perfume should smell on their planet, on the original alien planet, as opposed to the original formula of Alien from years ago, where it was just too much on our planet. But it smells perfect on their planet. Now I have the feeling we're getting closer to that perfection. But that's just me, and I know that Alien has its hardcore fans, people who like stock up like dozens of bottles of the original formula. So I'm not here clocking anybody or throwing shade. Like, I also love some really intense perfumes, and I know when you love a formula, you love a formula. I guess for the times we're living in right now, I'm lucky that they're doing this version of the formula. But for how long, who knows? And it has like a balmy, creamy vibe to it. So it's not just this like white floral accord, but it's creamy, it's deep. It's almost like a, you know, in a dream when you're trying to run, but you can't really run very fast, so you start moving very slow, and you can't get through. It almost feels as if the air is so dense, as if the air were water. That's the effect that Alien gives you when you wear it, and also when you smell it, even out of the bottle. It it automatically kind of slows time down. And again, this is one of the reasons, one of the main reasons why I have chose it for this February, because it slows down time. But politically speaking and economically, things are moving so fast and not for the best. You know, there's a lot of aggression going on, and just a lot of division, separation. You know, entire governments are collapsing, calling up for new elections, and there's a lot going on. And it's just we just feel unstable, insecure, and everything is moving so fast, and you feel like you can't grasp anything. You can't just stop anything and take a breather. This perfume feels as though you're in that dream where everything slows down. and it kind of psychologically calms me down and enables me that breather moment. So if I find the shopping link for this one, I'll post it in the shopping link. So thank you guys so much for helping out the channel. Thumb up the video if you're enjoying it and subscribe. Let's get to 1,000,000 subbies as soon as possible. We are a ways away from that planet, the 1,000,000 planet, but you know, we can always dream. So thank you so much for your love and support. Let's go to number 3, Magic. Dior is my number 3, and I love this particular photo. It's one of the newer iterations of the promotional photos that Dior did on their website for Christian Dior's new look. I love my 40 ml bottle. I stocked up on this one when it came out. Oh man, a lot of people don't like this one at all, but I love it. Okay, I love it to bits, and on me it also works really well. Francis Kurjan really did a great job with this one, in my opinion. Dare I say, the only new release that he has done since he came to Dior that really works for me. I know some people really love Dior Riviera. Not really my thing, but I love this particular version of the promotional kind of ad that they made, and they photograph the perfume every year differently, and this gives me very much a New Year's Eve vibe with kind of firecrackers and little sparkly moments all around the bottle, almost like midnight New Year's Eve, right? But except this, so the photo is usually a little bit bigger. I cropped it out to have a little bit more space for me to move around. And anyway, it gives me the vibe as though they had photographed the aldehydes in this perfume. And that's why I love this particular representation of New Look as photographed for Dior, or, you know, for their website. Because this perfume has a very strong aldehydic opening accord. And the aldehydes in this one, I mean, we're talking crisp, clean. It suffocates you how clean and dry the linens are that are hanging in the sunny air as they're drying, and that crisp smell of white linen drying in the backyard. Man, that's what this is. And it's February, right? So it could be Southern Hemisphere where it's summer, or Northern Hemisphere where it's winter. It doesn't really matter where you're drying your stuff. I mean, if you were drying your linens in the Northern Hemisphere in February, chances are they would freeze. So they wouldn't be like nicely just moving in the wind, like that fabulous scene from Halloween, 1978, John Carpenter's Halloween, when Laurie Strode is looking out of her window and all the linens are kind of just waving in the wind in the backyard, and Michael Myers just appears between the linens, and then the wind moves the linens again and he disappears. Like, that's the vibe that I get from New Look and this curtain. Oh, by the way, I have also reviewed New Look. New Look has its own special, very long review on my channel. Go check it out. So we have these aldehydes, basically very simple structure, but overdosed. And aldehydes and overdosed with frankincense. Kind of, it's an incense myrrh-esque vibe. So very smoky, very dry, which the aldehydes already feel like clean linen. And then you got that dry incense kicking in as well, giving you almost a religious experience. And it dries the air even more. So the aldehydes are dry. The frankincense is dry. Everything is so dry and crisp, almost like as if all of those linens, those bed sheets, had frozen from that crisp air. And there's a special type of light, again, depending which part of the world you're in, but I've traveled, and I can tell you, February usually everywhere is fantastic. The sun, the angle of the sun to the earth, now, depending where you are, but usually there's such a blue sky. When the sky is blue in February, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, it is blue. It is at its peak of blue that it ever gets. And when it is very, very cold, February, and the sky is completely blue and everything is super frozen, yeah, you inhale the air and you feel the air almost cuts you how crisp it is. That's the vibe that you get from New Look. It is perfection for February. Really, really perfect for February. I love this perfume so much. You know, I understand why a lot of people don't like it. It smells kind of synthetic and simple but aggressive in a way. It lasts gosh, a whole day and then some. And on my clothes, it never goes away. Really got to wash the clothes, and then sometimes it even smells after that. But look, it's like transparent liquid. You would never think, right? You would never think that this little thing would be like so intense and powerful. It is. It really is. But it's a very now type of perfume, you know. I think Francis Kurkdjian really delivered. Francis Kurkdjian delivered a very time-specific fragrance, you know. I don't know how this would work 10 years from now. I don't even know, knowing LVMH, because LVMH owns Dior, I don't even know if they're still going to make it 10 years from now. You know how they have this tendency, which I cannot stand this. This is why I love Chanel. Like, they almost never discontinue a fragrance. They might discontinue a concentration or an iteration of the fragrance, like the bath and shower gel or something like that, but they don't discontinue the actual fragrance. Very, very rarely. But LVMH has a tendency of just introducing a new fragrance, taking it away the next year, you know. So it cheapens the whole experience for me, because you fall in love with a fragrance and then it's gone sooner than you know. So I'm very, very cautious when a new fragrance is released from, you know, LVMH in general, Dior in particular, because I think to myself, ooh, do I really want to allow myself to fall in love with it? And then then it gets discontinued. But New Look, thankfully, is still relatively new. It's been released like a little bit over a year ago. How time flies, or is it 2 years by now? No, I think this one was released 23 to 24, like close to the end of the year, right? 2023, I think it was released. So now it's 2025. So we're going towards the second year of this fragrance, right? Like October, November 2025, it's going to be 2 years old, I guess. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it was released in 2022/2023. I think it was 2023/2024. I'll be posting the shopping link for this one. And it is available in different sizes. Now, Dior, for their Collection Privée, has changed recently their sizes. They used to be available in 40 ml, 125 ml, 250 ml, and then there was a splash bottle for some select few in 400 ml. Now, for travel purposes, thankfully, I mean, I've been like begging them to do that for I don't know how many years now, 10 at least. I kept saying like, hey, why are you making 125 ml bottles when most airports allow you, for security reasons, 100 ml max carry on? I'm not sure that if I want to put my Dior's in the check-in luggage where stuff can get stolen easily. So that's why I usually ended up purchasing the 40 mLs, because that's the only size that they would make of their Collection Privée that are, that you can carry on as a carry-on onto the plane. But now apparently they have switched the 125 mils to 100 mil. And maybe the 250 mLs have been reduced to 200 mil. I'm not so sure about that one. But so technically, New Look could already, by the time you're watching this video, could already be available as a 100 mil iteration as well. And I'm not so sure if they're discontinuing the 40 mLs completely or if they're upgrading them to 50 ml. This I'm not so sure. Chances are they're discontinuing the 40 mLs. They always do that. You know, they take them away, then they bring them back a year later. They don't know what they're doing. It's really annoying. But when they do bring out the 40 mLs of the ones that I love, I usually stock up by 2 or 3. That crisp, frozen curtain in the air, frozen in time, giving you a fresh whiff of a new look, of something to look forward to, something new. Hope. Just like Star Wars, A New Hope, you know. You're my only hope, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Anyway, IYKYK. Gosh, we do need an Obi-Wan right now. It seems like the Emperor and Darth Vader are everywhere. Where is the rebellion? Where are the rebels? Where's Princess Leia when we need her most? The next one, let me show you the next. Sum up the video, by the way, and subscribe. Magic, magic, magic. A little bit of playfulness and heart in this, pardon me, in this difficult, dangerous world we live in. I think Cheap and Chic by Moschino is just a masterpiece. It's a fragrance that was launched in the 90s. Shortly after Franco passed away due to complications with the HIV virus and AIDS. So those were the early 90s people, different times. Unfortunately, he left us too soon. He was a genius, really a genius. And this, you should see my review of Cheap and Chic by Moschino, because in that review I also showcased the original video ad campaign for the perfume, where olive oil, this is the silhouette of olive oil, and this is her chignon on the back of her head. It's like olive oil turned around to the back. And Popeye has passed away in that ad, and he is in a glass coffin, like Snow White. And everybody's mourning his passing, and it's a very, very sad funeral. Olive oil arrives to the funeral, and she is losing it. She is, it's beyond shock. I mean, she's unconsolable at this point. Um, and she sees him in that glass coffin, and she screams and becomes hysterical and lifts her arms and smashes the glass coffin. And oh man, what a commercial. And then she pulls out the perfume, sprays it on herself, and kind of just like goes over Popeye, and he smells it, and she brings him back to life. I mean, such a hopeful commercial. Of course, Popeye, being in a coffin, it's there. Moschino was playing with Franco Moschino passing away, and that kind of wishful thinking of bringing our heroes back to life. It's such a beautiful ad campaign, really one of the best that, as a tribute, subtle tribute to Franco Moschino that was ever made. This perfume is very musky, floral, and it has the cyclamen in it, which is quite a synthetic accord in this one. But Euroitalia is the distributor. Cyclamens are my favorite flowers, so whenever I see a perfume with cyclamen in it, it's going to smell a little synthetic, but I love my Cheap and Chic. It has changed a little bit throughout all the decades, right? Given that it was released in the 90s, it's still in production. It falls under the cheapy category these days. If you're lucky enough, you can find it for like $25, 100 mil, or $30 to $40. Like, I think full price for 100 mil is $40. But you can get it even cheaper, like even on Amazon or many different places, Walmart. If I find a shopping link to this one, I'll also add it to this video. Available in different sizes. They used to do a 25 mil, a 30 mil, 50 mil, and 100 mil. And this is the Eau de Toilette. There was an Eau de Parfum. There was also an Extrait. No, this is the Eau de Parfum, I believe. No, sorry, this is the Eau de Parfum. This is the Eau de Toilette. This is the Eau de Toilette spray. There used to be an Eau de Toilette Splash, which was like a chubby little round bottle, olive oil with a golden head, and you would screw her head off, and she would be a you would screw her head off. Yeah, that came out really weird. But and then the Extrait was in a kind of semi-golden bottle as a 25 mil in a beautiful box with the lid, like you lift it off like that. Anyway, they don't manufacture the Extrait anymore, but the Eau de Toilette is still available, and it's really, really gorgeous. I would say this is the perfume so you take the chignon, the hair piece off of olive oil, and there's a golden sprayer underneath there, and her collar is in the shape of a heart. You need to let this one breathe a little. When it's like brand new and fresh, it's going to be quite synthetic and quite kind of, you're going to think, oh, this doesn't smell strong enough. But when you start using it, a couple of months pass by, it gets a chance to breathe, get a little bit of oxygen in the bottle. It's going to become more intense. It's such a beautiful perfume. The musks in here are really, really gorgeous. And the cyclamen, it's slightly bitter, but it's really, really nice. Really, really nice. It meshes very well with my skin. It has citrusy accords in it as well, bergamoty vibes. So there's a freshness to it, but then it goes deeper into the musks. It transforms quite a bit on the skin. It's not a linear fragrance, by the way. Love it to bits. Love it to bits. And I need some playfulness, I need some positivity, some optimism in these difficult times. So February, Cheap and Chic by Moschino. Definitely a must-have, in my opinion, in any collection, really. Now, the next fragrance, which is our number 5, magically appears I mean, I cannot have a list without a Chanel perfume. You know, my favorite fragrances out there are Chanel's, and any concentration of Coco Mademoiselle is sublime for the month of February. There's just this perfume. It's fresh, but it's also warm. It's invigorating, but it's also cozy. It's a hooker of a perfume, IYKYK, but it's the good hooker. It's the one that kind of doesn't just do it for the job, but also either they are really good at acting that they care, or they maybe really do care and they have empathy. This is a hoe with empathy. And so here we have the eau de parfum, we have the hair mist, we have l'eau privée, which is, they tell you like spray your pillows and bed sheets before you go to bed with it. And then we have the eau de parfum intense. The eau de toilette is missing, as is the parfum. I do have the parfum, which has been discontinued in the spray form. I think they still make it in the splash form, but this is 7.5 ml. Oh, the love of my life. Why did they discontinue the sprayers? I do not know. Coco Mademoiselle Parfum 7.5 ml. I smell this and I'm happy, you know? And it really doesn't matter if it's the Parfum or the EDP or the EDT or the EDP Intense or L'Eau Privée. Each and every single iteration of Coco Mademoiselle is a masterpiece. And I gotta say, and I've said this in my review of it because I've reviewed it as well individually. So go check out that video as well. And if I get a shopping link to this one, each one of these iterations, I'll post it here. But I've said this 1,000 times already, but I never stress enough to repeat myself. It's about the times, it's about how long a company keeps producing a perfume despite all odds. I think a lot of a lot of brands don't give the time to a perfume to become an icon. Chanel really gives their perfumes time. And I'm saying this in particular because when, oh, there's a little droplet here. Let me just put it on. I don't want to spray it now fully because, oh my God, this is so good. It's leaking. It's excited. Where was we? Um, you know, it was released in the Y2K era. This is a fruit truly, the first of its kind, really, that actually might not be the first of its kind, but it was. So Jacques Polge is the perfumer behind this one, and it started the trend. It definitely kicked into the stratosphere of going viral. Back then, things would not go viral because there was really no social media yet, right? But so a concept of something going viral was very different in the early 2000s. Things would slowly grow. The momentum would take time, sometimes years even. And it was so beautiful to actually live in those times and have the time to get to know something, to get to know a new CD, a new album coming out, to get to experience a new movie that's playing in the cinema. Nowadays, sometimes they launched a movie on the weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in the cinema. On Monday, you can already download it. It's already available also to purchase online. Back in the days, it wasn't like that. Like you would wait years before something came on VHS. So you would get to see the movie in the cinema. You would go several times to the movies to watch it. Wow, such an experience, right? And then like years later, it comes to VHS, and you could only rent it. You couldn't even buy it in the beginning. And then after a while, you could also purchase it on VHS. Same applies to perfumes. Perfumes back in the day, brands would launch a brand new perfume, even though Coco Mademoiselle is a flanker of Coco, but very different perfume, although it bears the Coco name. And Coco was released in the 80s, in the late 80s, Coco Mademoiselle in the early 2000s. Now, when it was first released, it was obnoxious because it was everywhere. Everybody had it. This thing went viral for the viral standards of back in the day. And it was kind of very specific to the times. And for the longest time, I would associate this particular smell, right, of the sweet chuli, the patchouli with all of the fruits and the potpourri in the background. Also rose and jasmine in here, classic Chanel with the aldehyde opening, sparkly champagne, bubbly champagne vibes. Like that would be such a Y2K era perfume. Like envision Paris Hilton with her Chanel shades without the frames in pink, with her little braids on the two sides, lip gloss, belly button visible with the piercing, hyper tanned, I mean, more brown than just regular tan. And with her Takashi Murakami for Louis Vuitton, cherries, Keep All 45, or one of the white based multicolor bags that she would carry around, and then her little dog. And then maybe she would have a cropped pink t-shirt or tank top, and or she would go around with her, velvety um, sporty attire from Juicy Couture, and she would be doused in Coco Mademoiselle. Like that's the vibe. For the longest time, that was kind of the vision of Coco Mademoiselle. Now, but because Chanel kept making it and producing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and they revamp it every year, they keep adding like new concentrations, new whimsical ways to wear the perfume, like this one for the bed sheets and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So that now, right, 20 years later, 20 years after its initial release, this one doesn't smell of the Y2K era anymore, but rather it has now become legend, an icon. It's this perfume deserves its rightful place in the Olympus of Chanel fragrances. I mean, there's a beautiful nostalgia to it because it does bring back memories as well, but it is so iconic, and all the other perfumes that try to imitate this trend or this fragrance back in the day, none of them exist almost anymore today. They're all gone. This one has withstood the test of time, and it has earned its place as an iconic fragrance, not just an iconic legendary fragrance that transcends time, but it is now a timeless Chanel fragrance, which is a whole other level. It's a masterpiece. And again, I chose it in February because that patchouli is really warm. The aldehydes are sparkly and cold. Again, it's a beautiful duality between warm and hot, between warm and cool. But I also chose it because of the stability. And I think the times we're living in right now are just so unstable. I am personally grasping for anything that resembles or that can give me some form of comfort, some form of feeling safe, like routine that's been around for the longest time. It's still going to stay that way. Things are not going to be disrupted completely. And fragrances like Coco Mademoiselle really make me feel as if things are still stable. I'm not saying that the early 2000s were stable times, but what I am saying is, I think back to 25 years or 20 years back, and I think, well, we survived that time. Those were good times at the end of the day because, like, we're here. For those of us who are lucky enough to be here, we're here. So it's kind of like that knowledge that at least those 20 years between 2005 and 2025, I have survived and I'm here now. So I would be okay with going back the 20 years back and then reliving all of that again because I know I would be okay. And this perfume makes me feel that way. It's a consolation, maybe a slim consolation because who knows what the future brings. But the perfume itself, when I wear it, I put it on during the day, especially on those days when I feel particularly vulnerable and fragile. And I wear it and I'm just like, oh man, yeah, it hits the spot. It calms me down. It kind of soothes my anxiety as well a little bit. So it's really like a really, really good friend. It really helps me out. And Chanel, how dare you discontinue the extrait in spray form? You better bring it back, girl, because this thing is a masterpiece. I'll post a shopping link to these, if I find any. But I think there's quite a few places that carry these beauties. Like I said, any concentration. And if you want to save a little bit of money, get the hair mist. It's a little bit lighter, but it's still the DNA of Coco Mademoiselle, and you're paying a little bit less per milliliter or per ounce because the hair mist is a little bit less concentrated. But there you go. thumb up the video, subscribe, you guys. Thank you so much for your love and support. This has been my selection, my top 5 fragrances for the month of February 2025. Also look out for my top 5 Chanel February fragrances for 2025, because that video is also coming to my channel very, very soon. Or by the time you're watching this video, maybe the other one is also already available. So you can go check that one out as well. If you are interested, let me know your favorite perfumes for the month of February down below. And until next time, never forget to never give up on fragrant love. Subscribe. Bye.